What is your name?
Thomas,
And what year were you born?
1938.
Do you like or love listening to music?
Ooh, that's my hobby.
What music did you listen to growing up because of parental influence?
I didn't listen to any music because of my mother or father's influence, any relatives. I did it because it was on the radio. We didn't have television. We listened to the radio. And the stations, most of them were either news stations, they told the news, or they were music stations which played the popular music of that time. Say like the late 40s,
Mm-hmm.
1940s, into the middle 50s.
So, like, what kind of music was that when you were,
It
like,
was
growing
more
up?
or less big band singers that went on their own. And by meaning that is they left the big band, like Doris Day, to give you an example. She was a big band singer. And then she went on her own and had Que Sera. She had a lot of songs that were very popular on what they called the hit parade at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe Stafford was a big band singer. Kitty Callan was a big band singer. And they all went on their own without the big band with musical, like an orchestra. But they became popular. In other words, people listened to their music. I did. I loved it. I knew the words. Nat King Cole, Frank
Mm-hmm.
Sinatra, just to give a few.
Okay, and what kind of music do you listen to now?
I listened to a variety. I listened from the early time I started, that I just told you about,
Mm-hmm.
all the way into the beginning of rock and roll, which people say started with Elvis. But you had Chuck Berry, you had a lot of these other people involved there that actually wrote their own songs, or Elvis didn't, even though he was very popular, and I think he was a good singer back then. And I think we developed our own brand of music as each generation following did,
Mm-hmm.
us, in other words.
Okay. And like if you were to go downstairs and put on music now, like who would your favorite artist be?
I don't have a favorite artist per se because I like them. I like so many of them. In other words, and through generations, up into the 80s maybe, middle 80s, I could deal with, understand a lot of, because it all goes to social economics, whatever. It goes into a generation that feels the way they do because of the whole world situation. So they react to it through music a lot of times.
Okay. And do you have children?
Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
um when you had children, did you change what you listened to?
I never forced my children to really do anything that they didn't want to do.
Mhm.
And listening to music was their option. They listened to my music because I played it a lot in the house.
But
Okay.
did you change like what you listened to because of what was said, or did you just play it regardless?
I didn't care. I just liked that music. It wasn't bad music.
Mhm.
And they sang along to it. I'm sure they did. And I'm sure if you ask your own mother, she'll tell you that she remembers songs from my generation
Mhm.
all the way up to hers. And I never stopped them from listening to the music that their fellow classmates or their peers
Mhm.
listened to.
Okay. And so did you encourage them to listen to anything, or you just let them listen to
I
whatever
let
they
them
wanted
listen,
to?
and as time went on, as they grew and met people and got into different groups,
Mhm.
they went with the music that was popular then to them.
Okay. And do you think that your taste in music has changed due to anything in particular? Like, do you think maybe socially it has changed, or culturally the music that you listen to? Like, do you think it's changed because of those reasons?
The music that's being played now,
Like the music that you listen to, like because you listen to such a wide variety of music, do you think the change in it like is maybe culturally or socially?
oh yes, definitely, definitely.
How?
I'd say both, culturally, socially. I'd say that I think the black people have, black people originated In other words, I don't know how to express this. Back in my time, in the 50s,
Mhm.
the black people wrote a lot of the music that was popular back then, but white artists covered them. They call it covering them. Recorded the music, and they changed it to a white sound, where the black people wrote it. Every group, doo-wop group, they sang. They became white singers, or how would you say it? Race integrated. In other words, one, two black guys, two or three white guys would get together, probably in the service that they were in at the time, and form groups to sing this music that was originally written by black people, just black people. But the black sound was not appreciated so much by the white population. A lot is due to segregation. In other words, blacks stayed there, whites stayed there, which was totally wrong. I mean, but eventually the blacks broke the color barrier, and they started singing on their own. And now it's gone from that all the way up into doo-wop, where they are becoming rich because both black and white are listening to their music.
Yeah.
It sort of sounds confusing, but it isn't. It's all culture, and it's the freedom they gain too, because blacks have a lot to do with music.
Yeah.
Popular music.
Especially
back then they did, not
yeah.
just now.
Well, they kind of like they do now too.
Oh yes.
What do you think
But
about
they're getting
today's?
paid for it now. They used to write a good song, like Otis Blackwell wrote a lot of Elvis Presley songs that Elvis made famous, became #1 hits for him. And here was this black guy that wrote these songs. Nobody ever heard of him.
So no one
and he
paid
sold
him.
these rights to these songs for $100 a song, and Elvis made millions on them. I'm not saying Elvis is a bad person,
No.
but that's
yeah.
the way things
That's
work.
how it was. What do you think about today's popular music?
You know what? I don't really get into today's popular music, but here again, Lady Gaga, I enjoy some of her music, believe it or not. Now you say, her? And not all of it,
Yeah.
but I can listen to Born This Way, whatever. I mean, just the way the beat is and everything like that. When the Macarena came out, it was a Spanish song, but it's about a prostitute. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
But I like that. That was such a popular beat back then.
So did you like the beat of the popular music?
Yeah, even if I couldn't understand.
So you stuck to a lot of music and listened to a lot of music from a wide range of years because you enjoyed it, because you liked the lyrics and the beat. But you also listened to the popular music because even though you didn't know what they were saying or couldn't understand them, you still enjoyed the beat of it.
Right.
Okay. How do you compare like today's popular music to like the music you listen to on a daily basis?
Well, there's a big generation gap because I'm going back, 4 generations as opposed, maybe 3 to you.
Yeah.
And culturally, the way our whole country and the whole world has changed, the expression of the artist today is a lot different than it was back when I was young.
How?
It was a more soothing, relaxing, even though they had the rock and roll, but it was so innocent, you could almost call it bubblegum music, is a phrase, as opposed to the music they sing today. I'm not talking about what your sister Emily might listen to, even though she's getting older, but on a scale of hard rock today, or hip hop, or rap, they're expressing their pent-up feelings about how their generations back into my generations were looked down on. I'm just saying as far as the black, the Spanish, and they're coming into a sphere of their own. In other words, they're going in, they finally have their outward say to express themselves, how they feel. And it's a more violent feeling because there's more violence, I think, in the world today.
Okay.
There's always been violence, but I think there's a lot more right now.
Do you think that music has anything to do with violence?
No, I think it's more or less an expression. Music is to get rid of this anxiety they get from feeling this violence. In other words, they express it. All the video games they play now show, not all of them, but a good percentage of them show total violence. And you have male and female playing these games. So when you see somebody on a video where this girl's going down the street with a machete and she's just chopping people's heads off and blood squirting all over, that's violence.
Yeah, but even though the people that are singing it might be getting rid of the
Exactly.
feelings they
So
feel,
it might have
what
a
about the
twofold-
people listening to the music? Do you think they feel more violent when they hear it because the
You mean the
person
group
that
that's producing this?
I'm talking about the people that are listening to it because the people that are singing it are releasing how they feel and their anger or whatever. Do you think that that has any influence on the people that are listening to it? Like, do you think that they might feel more violent when they listen to it?
That's complex because everybody has their own
Yeah.
personality and way
Mhm.
about them. I mean, you get some people like the guy that shot that Gifford, the senator,
Mhm.
in the head and killed that 9-year-old girl. I mean, that guy was whacked out. Now you could say, well, music influences thinking, but does it affect everybody that way? In other words,
Yeah.
you're going to single out certain idiots
Mhm.
or mentally deranged people that are going to justify their actions from the music.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you an example. The guy that did that Helter Skelter, Manson.
Mhm.
He listened to the Beatles music on the White Album, and he'd say, well, that album was telling him to go out and commit heinous murders of wealthy people to
Mhm.
start a race war in which he would be the ruler, like Hitler
Yeah.
was. So it affects different people differently. I mean, I could go on and on and on.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, I think it depends on the individual that's listening to that music or the one that writes it. And I think most of it's harmless as far as people reacting to the music, but there are going to be isolated cases. Whereas in my music, not my music, but my generation's
Mhm.
music, you didn't have the violence.
Okay.
It was more or less, I met a girl and we went out and had a good time and oh, I'm in love with you. Or somebody got killed in a car crash and now there's my teen angel. It was what I said, bubblegum music. It was so mild and so, it was nice to listen to really if you were brought up in that period.
Mhm.
But it wasn't as violent as the music is today.
Okay. All right. Thank you.